everyone, Sean Taggy here, Chief Operating Officer of Memphis Investment Properties and partner, here for another weekly whiteboard. Wow, number 7 weeks in a row. Not bad. Oh, we missed a week or two, but still, our 7th one. Happy to be on a little bit earlier than usual. I'm actually going camping this weekend, just at some friends' land. They own like 5-10 acres, just kind of east of Lakeland, the Arlington area. So yeah, we'll be having some campfires, having some fun. The weather's finally good here in Memphis. It's getting down to the 75s and like 65s at night. So perfect camping weather, some mallows, some tinfoil dinners, all that fun stuff. Anyways, so we're here. Send me your questions. If anyone is here watching live right now, submit those questions. I'd be happy to try to answer them to the best of my knowledge and according to my opinion of what I think would be best for you and advice there. But first, why don't I start with a little bit of a market update for August 2020. All right, so August 2020, obviously September's almost over, but I just kind of ran the number, crunched all the data. I'm using Chandler reports. I'm using Memphis Area Associations of Realtor data. So this isn't just phony baloney made up data. It's sales data by two really credible companies. All right, so checking out Memphis, Tennessee, okay, Shelby County. So how have we been doing? Okay, Will, in August 2020, our appreciation compared to August of 2019, okay? So our median sales price has been $210K is our average sales price, where in August of 2019, we were at $189K. Wow, so that puts us at a did I write that down right? Oh, 11% appreciation. That one, every 1% adds up. So it puts us at 11% appreciation. Okay, so this is unheard of in Memphis. Never been heard of. Really, we're usually a 1 to 2 to 3% type of market. Past 3 or 4 years, now I'm talking past 30 years. Past 3 or 4 years, we've been a 4 or 5%. So we're definitely in untread waters here. Reason being is August of 20 to August of 19, it's exactly this right here is our inventory. So number of sales and our number of available properties on the inventory. So we're at 1656 sales growth, all the sales added up, and for single family homes, 1757. So we've had 100 less sales. So I think it's totally supply and demand. Supply is down 6%, is what that is there according to that. So it's just causing more buyers. There's more buyers. There's 2 or 3 buyers for every house out there. So now the buyer who can offer the highest, the best terms and all of that is what's happening, thus upping prices. As I've kind of mentioned this a lot before, I'm feeling there's not a lot of homes being built. We're way behind on housing inventory for the past decade, just because, from the market crash then on, and the houses that are getting built are in the higher end, 450 plus. Very few homes being built in the affordable 200 grand range, what the average person can afford. Okay, then comparing year-to-date 20 to year-to-date 19, okay? So from August, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August of 19 to 20, showing how much we've appreciated, because this is just a month-to-month comparison. This is now a year-over-year, year-to-date. We have had an increase of 10% appreciation, pretty similar to August, kind of showing that we might even ramp up a little more because this is gaining above that. And our sales volume, our supply is down 8%. Okay, compared to other sales from last year. So what does that mean? I think it means good time to buy. I think it means there's supply and demand. I think it shows that Memphis is turning around to more of a hybrid market than a appreciation market, everything like that, okay? So those are some of the ideas, some of the things there. Now let me get you a August 2020 Reedy & Company update. So we're doing great over here on our property management end. We are able to rent our houses very, very quickly, and we're pushing rents 25, 50 bucks here and there, and not getting too much balk on that. So in the rental range as well, people are wanting to buy houses. I don't think a lot of people are moving out of their houses due to COVID. They're renewing their leases more. Our renewal rate is increasing. Then the big thing is also that everyone's kind of concerned about, looking into, and wanting to know an update on is our collections data and evictions data. So we know about the Trump administration delaying foreclosures and kicking people out. But here's the thing. Here's the real details behind it, is that for someone to qualify to kind of delay getting evicted from their house, they actually have to like apply for all these things. They have to, I don't have the exact notes saying, I should have grabbed it from the collections team. I was just talking to them the other day, but that person first has to do all of their due diligence to try to obtain government financing, government funding to pay their rent, apply for Section 8, Memphis Housing Authority, apply for COVID relief, and they have to have a really distressful situation, and it has to be through COVID with like a doctor's bills, piling up, things like that. So they have to do all their due diligence. People can't just make up a reason, like, oh, it was because of COVID, and not have proof and have not attempted other ways to get their rent money and to not be paying their rent, okay? So first off, they're doing that, and they actually have to sign that. It's legal. They have to sign it. So it is delaying a few things. Talking to the collections team, really out of our 2,700 properties-ish that we're managing, there's really only 15 people that are in that true qualifying range. So first off, we're still getting that. And the reason why that's so little is because people are paying. We actually had our best collections month for August 2020. August 2020 of our past 5 years. Yes, we had the highest percent collected rent in the past 5 years in August. Now, other months this year have not been too great, but it's been about maybe 1%, 1.5% lagging from other years' collection rates. But August was a great month for collecting rent. Why so? I don't know. We'll look into that data. So anyways, we're still collecting a lot, and thus why we have very few people kind of tied up in that eviction process and halted there. Okay? So good to update you on that one. Pretty fun. Okay, great. Austin Borowski, now Borkowski. Sorry for the butcher on that name. I probably should just not try to say it next time. So he is saying, can you speak to the year-over-year rental rate comparison for Shelby County and the cash-on-cash return impact at the higher sales prices? I'm seeing negative 5.8% for year-over-year in terms of for rental rate. So, man, at least for me in my internal data, what I'm seeing with rents and rental rates, we are raising our rents 25, 50 bucks, 75 bucks in our bread and butter areas that we're buying rental houses in here in Memphis. I don't know where you're getting the negative 5% in terms of, oh, so you're saying impact at the higher return? Oh, so you're getting a less return, yeah. So yeah, I get what you're saying. So because the prices are going up, right, and the rents are going up still, I believe, I've seen it in my data with our 2,700 doors. I mean, I think they're probably, you're saying that they're not coming up at an equal ratio. Maybe this one's trailing up a little more than this. So, that's a great question. I haven't really looked into that data yet, but I think it's probably coming pretty comparatively. Yeah, you might not get quite as great as a rent to value RV ratio, but I think it'll be made up for in appreciation. I know we're not supposed to bet on appreciation, but that's what we'll be coming into as a hybrid market. So I think you make up for it there, and also that rents are increasing. Memphis is still also very far behind the national average in home prices. As we know, yet again, it is a top 50 metropolitan market. So that was provided by Redfin. Year-over-year rental rent comparison counting the cash. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to share my screen here if people can see this. So here is, are they seeing my screen now? Okay, cool. So I actually have, my own internal data. So maybe this is for rentals. Maybe there might be other, Redfin's grabbing, all of Memphis, and maybe in the higher end areas, rent might be going down or something. That might be an effect of it. But in ours are the C, B, and lower end A class neighborhoods. I'm seeing higher rent increases for sure from what we've been doing from other years. So here's our rental map that has pretty much every property that's for rent that we manage here in Memphis, and it gives us a lot of data on how properties are renting. And I can see over the past, couple years and months how things have been going. So this one was occupied March 3rd. This one was occupied 6th. So I mean, that's kind of showing it there. 3, 1.5, 12, 3, 2, 1,500. Okay, so different one. Anyways, this is what I'm using in tracking for my personal, our personal rentals and all that, and the properties we're managing. And it really helps us see the data. So anyways, that's something cool. We can go back to the normal whiteboard now. Oops. Cool. Okay. What are the pros and cons of owning Section 8 versus non-Section 8 rental properties? Are there more headaches with Section 8 rentals? Okay, Richard. Great question, Richard. Thanks for chiming in. Okay, so Section 8. So first off, for those people who are kind of figuring out real estate, Section 8 is basically government subsidized rent. So it's typically like the tenant, let's say it's $1,000 a month. The tenant will go and apply with the government, whatever government body that is nearby in that local area. They'll say, hey, I have so many kids. I'm a single mom or single dad, whatever it is, have their circumstances, and explain that, hey, I need to live in this place. I can't afford rent. I need help from the government. And the government will make up some sort of ratio. Like maybe the government will pay $800 of that $1,000 a month rent, and the tenant will pay, $200. It can vary. I've seen ratios all over the board, okay? And that tenant is basically, the government's going to pay this. Pros of this is that, it's the government. The government's paying that money. I would like to say we can count on the government to keep paying. That's a whole political debate. I guess I'll leave that to the side. But what we've seen is Section 8 has been paying. The government's been paying us. We have about 10, maybe 20% of our 2,700 doors are in Section 8. So obviously we do it a little bit. We have been straying away from it a little bit. I'll dive into those cons in a little bit. So yeah, the government. So it's kind of guaranteed. Another thing, that if this tenant starts messing up this house, not paying their $200 portion, and we go ahead and file on that tenant because they haven't kept to their agreement to pay that, they'll get taken off that Section 8 voucher for, I don't know, however many years or whatever it is, what the penalty is. But so it's like really incentivized for the tenant to pay that extra $200 as well. Also, they need to take care of it. Another thing is, another kind of a con, kind of a pro here, is that the government needs to do, I think it's annual or quarterly. Okay, just so you know, the government body in Memphis, it's called the Memphis Housing Authority. So if you ever hear from us in Memphis, MHA means, it's the same thing, means Section 8, Memphis Housing Authority. So they have an annual inspection. And what we've seen on this inspection, we go and do our full turnkey renovation. Yes, a nice, great renovation on these properties. Get the floors all looking nice, everything perfect. These guys, before the tenant moves in, they'll do an inspection and they'll catch stuff. And we think it's just ridiculous stuff that doesn't need to be repaired on that property to get it in good working order for the tenant to live there, because the government checks to make sure it's good. So those inspections can kind of suck. Is that it's just unnecessary repairs that even us with a turnkey reno, sometimes we've seen stuff that we felt not even necessary. And a home inspector felt unnecessary, didn't put it on the home inspection report. So this can actually cost you money, because think 1, 2, 3 years down the line, when not everything's in working order, there's not a certain amount of handrails or all the burners working on the gas or the electric stove, weird things like that. It can be unnecessary repairs that you'll have to put in. And also, this delays the move-in. So it delays your move-in, okay? Because, if that's not all up to par before the tenant can move in, it delays your move-in, so you can have an unnecessary vacancy. And also, as we all know, the government's really, really quick, Jiminy Cricket on the spot with, getting in there, right, and getting the reports back to us. No. So that's what we've seen is the delays is the government's just taking forever to get that report back, to schedule a time for the MHA inspectors to get in there. So this is kind of a couple of the reasons why I think it's a con. We still do it though if, obviously like it's better than not renting it and you do get the guaranteed money. It is kind of like a con to a pro to the annual inspection is, hey, you're getting an annual inspection somewhat for free, except for you got to make the repairs on it. A little bit more guaranteed money. The tenant's more incentivized to stay in there. So pros and cons to it. Also, what we really have done is we've selected a hand-selected amount of properties, and it's usually when there's larger houses, you can get sometimes slightly above market rent. So this is kind of what we've zoned in on in kind of our C-class areas where it's a 4-bed with quite a bit of baths and larger. The more your family is, the more that person can afford for that rent. And it would say we might have been able to get this for a $950 at market. We might get $1,050 from MHA approving that. So that's one thing, and so that's kind of what we've kind of zoned in is try to find that niche there. But obviously, as you can see, we're about I'd say 15% on MHA. The rest is cash paying tenants, meaning they qualify to pay it and all that. So hopefully that answers your pros and cons of Section 8 and specifically Section 8 in Memphis, Tennessee. Maybe in other markets, higher end markets, it might be working well for someone or not. Us, though, we just see the cons to where we're not, of course we're going to do it if someone comes and qualifies, but we try to do it just in strategic areas where we can get slightly higher rent. Great question. All right. Los Angeles, California, and happy MIP customer. You're doing a great job for me. Richard, thank you, man. Oh, all the way in LA, huh? Yeah, well, I went and spoke over there at the LA RIA. God, it must have been 2 years ago. So anyways, I forgot his name, the real eccentric RIA guy over there. He's a cool guy. Anyways, that was fun. Cool. Thanks, everyone, for reaching out. Okay, so there's the pros and cons of that. Beverly Hills, Florida. Sam, nice, man. Glad to have you in here. Let me know any questions or where you're at in your real estate journey. Be happy to help you out. Any advice or takes that you need. Okay, cool. Fun, guys. So I'm going to dive into a little bit more of real estate, why it's awesome if you're trickling in any questions. I got about a few more minutes too. Okay, so here's one that obviously we're running into more over here. I want to talk on the subject of appraisals. Okay, so obviously when you're getting a loan on a property, the lender wants to verify the value of that property, the market condition, the market pricing of that property. So thinking of appraisals, as the market appreciates, the appraisers have to use, sometimes they go 3, sometimes even 6 months back. And especially if there's fewer and fewer sales, as we've been seeing, they might need to trickle back to 12 months back because the appraiser has to go in, get sales from sometimes even a year ago, because they need to find comparables with, plus or minus, I would say 10%. They typically want to have 10% of the square foot. They want similar, bed and bath and all that. And then what the appraisers do as well is they make adjustments. So if there's a carport on one comparable and then there's not on the subject property, they'll deduct that and adjust for having an additional benefit or not. Also like a bigger den or something like that, they'll adjust for square footage. If one comparable has 100 more square feet than the other, they'll adjust that price per square foot. So the price per square foot is also kind of like a big thing of adjusting there. Anyways, but the big things on adjustments, one of the biggest things is the condition. Okay, so this is what I believe is actually a real offset and kind of a negative to us, and why we get some low appraisals. We had about 5% of the time, but as of recent, especially with the prices increasing in the market and the appraisers not being able to keep up because there's not enough comps selling quick enough to show that, they're not, I feel that, they're not keeping up. So we get a few low appraisals anyways, we've talked about that. But really the big one also is the condition. So they have like, I think it's like C1 to C6 or something like that that talks about the condition. Well, they're grabbing some comparables nearby our turnkey property that has all those new mechanicals and a nice cosmetics to another property that has maybe a 10 or 15-year-old roof, a 20-year-old water heater, and a barely squeaking by HVAC, but the interior looks nice. So they sometimes I see on their appraisals, they're saying, oh, well, those are the same condition, when really ours, they should adjust those lower end comps, lower end renovations to ours. They're not really factoring in those big ticket items. And they also, according to our subject property here, they can't go in, they're not going in and looking at each one of these properties and checking out the condition. They're just using the pictures. And the pictures don't say, have the ages of all those HVACs, mechanicals, and all that, which are the big ticket items. So also that is why we're getting a little lower, is because we're putting in a bigger reno, which therefore need to sell for a little more to justify that price and the renovation we put in. Also, an appraisal is just one person's opinion. We have surprisingly seen in the past that we get one appraisal and maybe it doesn't come in right and that buyer might have canceled or it was just way too low. We get another appraisal, all of a sudden it's 20 grand higher or 20 grand lower. So it can vary. I've seen it vary plus or minus 20% of one appraiser to another, and just kind of their methodology of pulling everything, adjusting for the condition. They sometimes will go out 1 mile, but they're allowed to go even farther and farther out. So if they can't find same stuff with similar age, the age of the house and everything like that, they need to adjust. So anyways, that's my take and thought there on appraisals to kind of get you going and let you know about that. Okay. So wrapping up, any more questions, reach out, let me know. First, I'm going to wrap up on our big one, the Sofa Summit. Okay, guys. If you did not watch our Sofa Summit this past Saturday and Sunday, it was probably the biggest life-changing event you could have ever been to. So we had a lot of great speakers. I think we had over 230 people viewing at least at one given time, but over the span of a couple days, I think we had like 2,000 or 3,000 different unique viewers on the thing, checking out our Sofa Summit. It was an educational thing. So anyways, if you haven't seen it, we have them both on our YouTube channel, and we kind of have it lined out what the speakers are, and we'll be releasing the individual videos. So make sure to check that out. I spoke first on day one. Definitely check that out. Mark Hart, our main salesman, was the third speaker on day one. And also day two was really awesome. We went through a little hoarder house, other things like that. It was pretty fun. So if you haven't checked out our Sofa Summit, go down there. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel or told your mom, your dad, your grandma, your best friends to subscribe, shame on you. Shame on you. You need to get them in. All right, guys, thank you so much for chiming in. Hopefully these things helped you out, talking about the market conditions of Memphis, Tennessee, appraisals, answering about what we're feeling on the rent comps and everything like that. Thank you so much. There is the whiteboard.